What is going on this morning? Welcome to A Cup of Coffee and talking about guitar stuff. Today, I want to give you a little bit of a flip side of a coin that um, you may not spend much time thinking about from, this is going to sound weird, but your side versus my side, okay? We always talk about guitar features. We talk about specs, etc. Um, but from the manufacturing side, it's a different conversation than it is from the consumer side. And basically, what I want to talk about here is what makes a guitar company last or not. You know, obviously we have things like GNL. We have things like this Dean thing where you can look at the actual management of their company and realize that they just weren't good at managing stuff. And, because the McLarens at GNL were notoriously terrible about management of funds and management of the company, right? And so even though it's a kind of a legacy company, really, in the grand scheme of things, they're gone because they just weren't managed very well. But more often than not, we're talking about this on the opposite side of the thing, right? So, like, I'll give you an example. I'll use a name. So, Lucky Dog Guitars out of Tennessee. Please check them out. They make a very premium Telecaster style guitar that is incredible. I mean, it is an incredible instrument. He and I have been friends for probably 10 years. Well, we met in 2015. So 11 years we've been friends. And about a couple years ago, he and I were having a conversation. And he said, do you realize that after, almost 10 years at that time, that most of the brands that were around when you and I started, this is what he was telling me, Anthony was telling me, he said, are gone. And me and you are still here. And he's like, I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to still be doing what I love. And I'm like, me too, man. It's crazy. Right. And so I want to talk about what causes that. And you're going to hopefully, well, let's just get kind of into it, because when it really comes down to it, like in 2026, anybody can build a guitar. They can come out with a brand. You could right now. All it takes is some money. Okay. So you could, in fact, you don't even need your own money. You could start a Kickstarter. It'd probably take a little bit of money to get like a prototype made and stuff. But you can go to a company in China or in Indonesia and say, hey, I have a guitar. And it could be anything from a direct copy with a little bit different peg head to something that you designed completely from scratch. And you could go to that factory and you could basically have them source all the parts, and you just tell them that this is the price point that you want to hit, and they will do it within reason, and they'll tell you, look, this is what the guitar has to sell for. With all the features that you want, it's got to be $8.99. If we cut this feature off, this feature off, and this feature off, we can make it for $5.99, right? Like, or make it at a price where you could sell it. Well, they would actually tell you what you would pay for it, and then you have to decide whether you can sell it for a particular price or not. You have to have some knowledge on that side. So it's super easy. Literally, you just buy off-the-shelf hardware. You have them, make the guitars. This is what Firefly is doing. This is what Harley Benton is doing. This is what, there's a lot of companies. I mean, I don't want to get into other brands because I don't know if I know some of this stuff in confidence. Like, I don't want to out any brands that I'm thinking of right now, because there's a few other ones that I can think of. Another one I'll give you an example of. What's is it the Samurai YouTuber guy that came out with that it's kind of a cool offset kind of guitar. Same thing. You just sourced that overseas, and he designed it. It's kind of a neat shape and stuff, and they did a run of them and whatever. Same thing in pocket knives. Same thing with watches. Same thing with a lot of stuff. You can just kind of outsource everything, put your name on it. That's called ODM manufacturing, basically original design manufacturing, where you just you send them a design and they do it. There's a lot of knife. Riot, for example, is a knife company that does it. There's a couple of companies that do it for various watch brands, and of course, there's a bunch of companies that do it for guitar brands. It's an easy way to get into business. In fact, there's a lot of folks that may have started out that way, and then later on, as they got some capital and as they got the ability to do so, they could start to customize their product. So let's say you had a guitar like that and you had it made overseas, sourced it from somebody else, and then maybe a few years down the road, you got a few bucks now, and you want to make a more premium product in that line, and you go, okay, hey, let's throw some custom pickups in it. So you call me, or you call Lawler, or you call somebody else, and you kind of upgrade that product, right? And then it kind of becomes more yours. Eventually, you could get in a situation where now you're making everything, or you're making a line in the United States because you've got the money to do so. So here's the question, because that's easy, right? Just stroke a check, boom, you're in business. You got a name, Phil Bob the Church Bus Driver Guitars, and you're going right now. Why are there 500 guitar companies making guitars, and only a few that we actually hear of? And then on top of that, where are they in 10 years, and why are they mostly gone? Well, they make a few mistakes. Now, we talked about the ability to be a business person the other day versus being an artist. Anybody can, well, not anybody, but if you're an artist, a lot of times you're not a very good businessman. But it doesn't even start there. A lot of it starts before the art. Most companies will start with a copy. Okay, so look at this Firefly stuff. Look at like all that Harley Benton stuff, all of the stuff, all of that stuff. Okay. We're going to make a better Strat or a cheaper Strat. We're going to make a cheaper Les Paul. We'll make a guitar that's just as good as the other one but we're going to sell it for $500. The problem is nobody actually asks for that. And you're going to say, well, yeah, we do, because we want something cheaper. We'll get into that. But what you're doing is you're bringing another copy into the market, and you are copying an original. So you have not carved anything out, to use a pun here. You have not carved anything out in the market, a space for yourself. You're occupying a space that's already, so you're literally having to wade through a space that's fairly full. And the reason for that is a product is not a brand. Okay. Now, a lot of folks say, well, you're just buying the name. People say that all the time. We hear it all the time. Yes, exactly. And you should be. But even if you're buying a cheap guitar, you're still buying a name. Okay. Because what's associated with Harley Benton? What's associated with Firefly? What's associated with her? According to most people, it's a relatively cheap copy of a good guitar, and that's their brand. Okay. So when you look at this, what you're looking at is you're looking at what makes a Fender a Fender, what makes a Gibson a Gibson. Okay. What makes an Ibanez an Ibanez. It's not the materials. It's not the specs on the guitar. It's not what the wood is made of, because all those things can change, right? All the specs can constantly change. It's the story of the instrument. It's Leo Fender. It's rock and roll. It's the origination of the mass-produced electric guitar. It's the artists that are associated with them. The guitar itself is only part of the equation of the brand, right? People think that you're buying a guitar, but what you're actually buying is like membership into a community. People say, well, Fender and Gibson are stupid because they've become a lifestyle brand. Of course, they are lifestyle brands. So is Harley Benton. It's a less expensive lifestyle brand. I don't know about you, what you do in your spare time when you're not working, but guitars are my life. I mean, I work them, I play them. This is a lifestyle. Being a musician, being an aspiring musician, telling people that you play guitar, enjoying guitar with other friends, this is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle brand. Remember, guitars are not a necessity. So no matter which way you look at it, guitars are a lifestyle. A brand of guitar is a lifestyle brand, no matter the name on the peghead. No matter the name on the peghead, it is a lifestyle brand. Anything that is not a necessity, that costs more than what your normal necessities, food, shelter, and clothing are, you know, are a lifestyle brand. Now we focus that a lot of times on watches, on clothes, on accessories. Uh, but the guitar is a toy. It's a toy. Okay, so you're buying membership into a lifestyle brand. Some of them are more expensive than others. The reason people fail at guitar is because they don't do this properly. Most people just sell features. I want to put a stainless steel fret on a guitar for this price. Okay, cool. But that's an accomplishment that you can technically do by clicking a box. There's no connection to it, and it doesn't make you special. Okay? You might think so, especially if you're on the inexpensive side of the hobby, when you're looking at like a $300 or $400 guitar with stainless steel frets, and you're like, well, they can do it, therefore that's where I am because it's got the feature that I want. But the problem is that most people beyond this, most people that are in this kind of hobby are constantly aspirational. This is an art. We are fueling an art, right? We're paintbrushes. These are art. So you're trying to make a situation where this person wants this thing, and then they make art with it and they enjoy it, and then the next thing is like, oh, look at that, I can make art with this thing too, and it keeps going, right? There's no be all end all. There's no guitar that just pleases everybody. And this is a huge deal because when a company tries to please everybody, they will fail. 100% they will fail. We see this with Fender. Fender gets too complicated. They got like 35 strats. It's ridiculous. Gibson's getting better about this, where they're down to less than they used to have, but this is one of the reasons why they went bankrupt. They went bankrupt because they were making too many different kinds of guitars, and they needed to simplify them down and get to their roots. Get back to making a vintage type Les Paul that everybody wanted, right? Now they got some modern alternatives, but really what they did is they slimmed everything back down. And they got to what we just talked about, what their brand represented in the past. Of course, they fixed quality and all that kind of stuff too. That was along the way. That's what everybody wants to talk about. But what they were really doing was simplifying their brand. What did Gibson represent when it was new? What do people remember about Gibson? That entire thing. And that's what they are trying to get back to. And I think they're still in the process of doing it. Obviously, nobody does anything perfect. But they're not making the cheap guitar guy happy. I should say the inexpensive guitar guy. They're never going to make a $500 Gibson Les Paul. They just won't, because it's not in their brand ethos. They just won't. It's just like you cannot buy a Rolls Royce for $24,000. You can't. They just don't do it. It's not what they do, right? You can't buy a $50 designed by DylanTalksTone pickup. I will never do it because it's just not what I represent and who we are as a brand. That will make some people unhappy, and it will also alienate people from my brand, and they will go buy GFSs and Planetones and all that kind of stuff, which is totally fine. Absolutely perfect. It's what we want. We want choices for everybody, but the brand, in order for it to succeed, needs to stick to its principles and what it wants to be, and represent that, no matter what. The next thing a brand does wrong, along with this, is they copy instead of create. Now, everybody has to copy a little bit in guitar stuff because we have formats of stuff. If I make a pickup that's a crazy 8 shape, it won't fit in your guitar, you won't buy it. Now replacement parts are a little different. So replacement parts actually, and when it comes to patents and design and that kind of stuff, sort of fall under a different thing anyway. Think oil filters, air filters, you got the Fram one, you've got the generic one, you've got the whatever, right? And they all make the same one, but it goes on the car the same way. Same thing. Replacement parts are a little different than original designs. So I guess But even in that, we find ways to be original with a lot of our, I just did a flamed Damascus pickup cover last night. Super cool. We find ways to be, original. When your business model is make the same thing but cheaper, you never own your IP. Um, you're, you're always one factory quote away from extinction. You're always one divorce away from extinction. If you're making factory copies and you order X amount of dollars of guitars and something happens and you don't have the money to stroke the check, you're done. It just happened to a guitar company out of Australia. They were $450,000 in the hole because they ordered a bunch of guitars. They thought they were going to this distributor, and then that distributor backed out, almost tanked the company. They had to sell a building. They had to mortgage a bunch of stuff. They're going to be in a financial hole for a long time because of that. I hope they succeed because they're really cool. But that's the problem, right? That's the problem if you're not original. And they have original stuff, but they were using a company to make their stuff. You got to make sure that you own your stuff. Got to make sure that you own your IP. You got to make sure and you got to be as original as possible. But the problem is that the more original you are, now you're bucking the trend of everybody who just wants a Les Paul, right? So it's a very fine line. This is why a lot of companies fail, because they don't understand how to run that balance. Okay. The reason brands win is because they can balance this line. PRS is an excellent example of this. They have tweaked original designs enough and basically just went at it long enough, never gave up, to create sort of a cult following at first. PRS will never be as big as Gibson. They'll never be as big as Fender, but I don't know that he wants to ever be as big as them. They were able to create their own lane. It was always Fender and Gibson. They created a third lane in American guitar making, and they're very successful at it. It is a smaller lane. It's a bike lane. It's not a full lane, but they created the bike lane, and it works. And there's not very many people in it, but they created it, and it works. It's really, really cool. You go down to somebody like Lucky Dog Guitars. Excellent example of somebody who took an original design but does something with it that nobody else does. Nobody makes a guitar like Lucky Dog Guitars. Nobody. Texas Toast. They came up with their own shapes. It took them 10 years to get their flagship shape right. They have their own identity, and it's a really cool thing. Reverend. Excellent example there too. Really distinct personality. Really, and not everybody likes them. They're always going to be the size that they are, and they're an excellent example of a mix of this. They created a brand around some guitars that are a little bit weird. They're using overseas manufacturing, but they've got a mix of it, so they bring them here and they work on them and they make sure they're good and all. So there's a kind of a mix there, right? Excellent example of a mix. Kiesel. You might not like the guy. You might not like every design. You might not like every color, but it doesn't matter. When you see a Kiesel, you know what a Kiesel is, and the Kiesel guys are Kiesel guys. I mean, they are. I was just shopping for one the other night. So the reason we bring all this up is because these are realities of the way guitars are brought to market. A lot of this stuff has nothing to do with the consumer. Really. And I know that's hard to understand. The guitar company, the guitar consumer, me and you, we always say, well, why don't they make a guitar like this? Why doesn't Fender have this combination of parts? Why doesn't a Les Paul have, I want a Les Paul like this. I want something that is cheaper. Here's why. Because people say what they want and then they buy actually something different. I'm going to tell you, for every person that said this gave me $1, I would be rich. And every guitar builder who ever heard this, if you gave that person $1, all of them would be rich, and this would not be a problem. Hey, what if you made it in this color? I would buy it. Hey, you know what you should do? You should create this guitar in this shape. I would buy it. Just give me $1. I don't even need $1,500 or $2,000 for the guitar. Just give me $1 for every time somebody says that. And then they don't. And then they don't. This is because guitar players think they want innovation. They don't. They don't. They don't. They want familiarity. That's what it is. Which means that small builders take risks. And this is why a lot of them don't last. Because they do what is smart for a business to grow in a atmosphere where they have to find people to play their guitars, because most people don't want anything. Most people just want the same thing. To be honest with you, most people who talk about this just want cheap. That's all they want. They want cheap, but I don't make cheap. Texas Toast doesn't make cheap. Gibson doesn't make cheap. We just don't make it. Right? So what this means for small builders is that this is a constant fight. It's a constant thing. I make pickups, okay? Truth is, anybody can do it. I've taught over 100 people to make pickups. I have on the schedule to help more and more people make pickups. I can teach you, right? I can tell you right now. You stop by my house, and for about $1,500 and an afternoon, I can help you make a pickup that works, 100%. But why would anybody care if you made a pickup? What do you stand for? What is your story? What are you bringing to it? What makes you different? Why would somebody buy your stuff if you started making it? Well, mine are just as good as Seymour Duncan's for less money. You've already lost the battle. You've already lost the battle. The guys that do this never last, because they don't understand how business works, they don't understand how marketing works, and they don't understand where to put their product in the marketplace. I know my stuff's expensive. I know it is. But I understand why. And even if you don't understand why, I understand why. And we do it properly to make sure that we have a place. Because anybody can always be cheaper. It's not always about money. It's actually, honestly, very rarely about money. The companies that survive understand this, and they understand that it's not even the companies with the best products. It's the company with the clearest identity. It's the company that knows who they are. And as a result of knowing who they are and being able to tell people to share with people in a concise way who they are, then they have this identity that then that person says, yeah, I personally identify with that, with those values, with what they're accomplishing, etc. And that is who. It's the story. It's the story. Every feature gets copied. Every part gets reused in some way. Every price gets undercut. The only thing you can't really copy is brand. And here's why. Because that's the part where you can identify or not identify the level of sincerity or insincerity in a person and the things surrounding the brand. If somebody tried to do what I do in the way that I do it, with the way that we come and talk to you every day on 2 different channels, the way we've been doing this for 13 years, if somebody tried to do it exactly the way I do it, and honestly, if you start a pickup company, I suggest that you do it very similar to how we do it. It works. You'll never be me. And I'm not saying you'll never be as good as me. You might be better than me. Faster. But you'll never be me. Fender will never be Gibson. Gibson will never be Fender. You know, wide range pickups and a Stradic and a Telecaster didn't make it a Les Paul, right? Let each brand be their own identity and realize that you aren't the customer for every guitar. Realize that from the consumer side now, realize that each brand has its own identity. Firefly, Harley Benton, Ert, Reverend, Gibson, Ibanez, ESP. And with those individual identities, they have individual audiences that they are targeting to buy their products. Okay. Les Paul is not targeting, Gibson is not targeting Harley Benton people, actually. Maybe with Epiphany they are, but not with Gibson. People want to say, I don't even understand why Gibson exists because they're so expensive that only lawyers can buy them. We know that's not true because they sell every one they make. It's just not for you. We're going to do a video about that too. Guitars that aren't for you and why you should buy the guitar that is for you. We're going to talk about that in another video. This stuff's really important. It's really important to understand. And I know it's hard for, if you're not in manufacturing, to say, wait a minute, but it's all about the customer. The customer should just be the center of everything. No, because who is the customer? It's not everybody. If I put 10 people in a room and I ask them a few questions, I will probably narrow down those 10 people to 2 or 3 that I feel would make good customers for me. And those other 8, they're welcome to buy my products, but the 2 in that room out of those 10 are the ones that are going to be lifelong customers and buy everything we make. And that's how it works. That's how it works. It's a responsibility of me to stay true to my brand, just like Gibson, just like Fender, just like everybody else. Identify the customers that are for them and not ignore everyone. Continue to show those other folks what we do, but focus on the ones that are actually keeping the lights on. Today, this afternoon, we're going to do a video on our other channel. You're going to see it. And basically, it's going to be, we make the best P90s in the world. Somebody gave me a hard time for bragging about that the other day, but I will. We do. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you some technical stuff, but I'm going to show you also part of this. I'm going to show you how and why we make the best P90s in the world. And if 10 people watch that video, 2 people might buy them. If 100 people watch that video, 2 people might buy them. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But this is how we do it. And I'm not changing how we do it because this is how we do it.